Thank you so much for joining in. And before we begin, I'd like to request you to visualize the scenario. You can even choose to close your eyes if you'd like for this particular session. But the point that I want you guys to visualize is that imagine that you guys are going to cook your favorite dish to eat tonight. Okay, you have brought all the fresh ingredients and you're really excited to start cooking. But in this hypothetical situation, imagine that your, say, box of salt is in your bedroom, your cooking oil is in the bathroom, your pan is in the living room, and your butter is in the attic. And now you start cooking. You remember one by one where all of these necessities are, but can you imagine how many times you'll have to move out of your kitchen to bring all of these essentials? It's quite inconvenient, right? And imagine the time that you'd waste. But in reality, you have a cabinet right above your stove, which contains the salt and the cooking oil. You have the drawers below which have the pan, and you have a fridge right next to it with the butter. All is consolidated within the kitchen to make your life and your cooking activity easy, more efficient, and quick. And this is exactly what a point of care 3D printing lab is all about. So it's basically having all the simple ingredients that make for a good diagnostic and surgical tool right inside the hospital for easy and instant access. So you have the software for designing, you have a clinically seasoned designer who understands surgical language, and an operator, of course, with the 3D printer of the choice based on the different applications that the institute is catering to. So with that, just to give you guys a quick introduction, Anatomize 3D is an innovation hub, and we've been in the healthcare and surgical space for about 5 years now. We were the first ones in India to have done soft tissue modeling and also point of care establishments here in India. And we cater to different types of products such as anatomical models, surgical cutting and drilling guides, implant molds, implants, cranial helmets, etc. But let me run you through the usual process which takes place when we are outside of a point of care lab. So it's typically something like this. The scan is taken at the lab, or a diagnostic center. It is sent to us. We study the data set. We understand the region of interest and what the final application is going to be. And accordingly, we plan the entire process to design the final products. Then we 3D print it in an appropriate technology, and we finally provide it to the surgeon. A lot of these things Ketan and Ayushi has already touched upon, so I hope this gets easier to understand, but I will be speaking about it a little later as well. Now, as simple as all of this sounds, this involves a lot of back and forth between the design team and the surgeon. So let's face it, the surgeons are highly loaded with work of their own. So even though we are all well experienced and can do most of the job ourselves, we still require a surgeon to finalize it. This is literally a 2-second job, but can take an entire day based on the doctor's availability. Sometimes even the next day. So this affects the entire delivery cycle time and makes rapid prototyping not so rapid anymore. So a point of care lab can help reduce this time efficiently by almost 40 to 80%. Now, there are quite a few challenges. First one is the scan quality. In order to get a good and accurate 3D model, we require the scan to be of a certain optimum quality, else we just end up doing more harm to the patient than good, and I'm sure none of us really want this. It might even make the clinician lose faith from the technology altogether. So it's important that we receive standardized data in the form of a standardized scanning protocol. This will ensure seamless integration of the technology as a diagnostic tool. So doctors are also very innovative in nature, and it's really, really exciting to see that every doctor has some or the other pet project that they would really like to make a difference with. They know what they want as they are the end users, and with this POC, they get a platform in-house to tinker with. It's like having an office at home, say for a working mother, with everything around, the table, the laptop, the Wi-Fi, printer, etc., etc. Just imagine everything. This leads to a surge of creativity and a definite growth of the community. So some of you might even question now, is reduction in time and improvement in processes really that crucial? The answer is very simple, it's yes. The WHO norm suggests that there should be at least one practicing doctor in a population of 1,000 people, whereas in India, the ratio is 1 in 1,600. So we only have 0.8 million doctors in a population of over 1.3 billion people, and 80% of them are in urban areas. And this is just India. Even the most developed nations have seen the healthcare system break down in our current pandemic situation. But even in this situation, we cannot stop providing care to those in need. We can help by making surgeries easier, faster, and more precise, allowing the medical teams to cater to more patients more effectively and locally. So let's go ahead and define our end users. It all starts with radiology because 3D printing is nothing but an extension of the same to actually begin with. It's an amazing diagnostic tool to report cases better. Then come the medical practitioners who use the anatomical models, cutting and drilling guides, implants, etc. to provide a personalized approach to their patient surgery, and it also helps in patient communication. They can then go ahead and teach their trainees or fellows who are learning a particular specialization. These doctors can even conduct workshops to teach other doctors from around the world, and they can practice the technique while the inventor is actually demonstrating it. And of course, in education, there is a desperate need to evolve and improve simulators in order to reduce the dependency on cadavers. However, at the end of the day, the person who benefits the most from all of the above mentioned practices is none other than the patient. And this is exactly where a point of care lab comes into the picture, right between radiology and other end users. We've done several such labs here in India with some of the biggest chains in the country. But today it gives me immense pleasure to announce that we have also collaborated with Apollo Hospitals in Hyderabad, and we are really, really excited for our journey over there. So what is it that you would do at this point of care lab? So the first thing that you would look at is a anatomical model. I'll just quickly run this video. So it's basically working on the CT and MRI scans, bringing that to the software, converting that data into a 3D model, and then printing it out and providing it to the surgeon. This particular patient had a hole in the heart, and the parents had gone across the country to find surgeons who could help operate on this patient, but no one thought that the patient would survive a surgery. The last set of doctors that these guys went to, they were really adamant, and they had read up about 3D printing somewhere across in USA or something like that. And these guys came back to us and they were like, they really want to take up this surgery. So we started doing the planning, we started making the 3D models, and we gave it to them in hand. And they realized that not only is a surgery possible, but honestly, the best possible outcome for that patient is possible. So these anatomical models, if at point of care, can help in the decision making and can help in choosing whether or not to opt for a surgery, which eventually will highly affect the patient's future. So that is one. Second one, and of course, this is not just heart, but you can do the specializations. You can provide these solutions across all of these specializations if you are in-house at the point of care lab. And as I mentioned about the innovation part, people are free to explore in whatever fields they would want to do that. The next one is the osteotomy guides. This patient had a huge tumor in the pelvis. And in such cases, it's really important to get the cut right. If you cut off more bone or if you cut off less bone, both of them are highly dangerous situations in a way. So this surgical planning is done on the computer, and we were able to print out the jig and give it to the surgeon. A procedure which would have ideally taken them 2 to 3 hours in locating the exact cut sections to resect at, they were able to do it in literally 10 minutes. So it not only reduced the time in the OT, but it also reduced the patient blood loss and eventual patient trauma that it would have caused. So the next one is custom implants. Don't worry, this is not all of one patient. I've just put across different implants over here to show you. And there is in no way I am saying that these custom implants should be printed inside a POC lab. We are not there yet. But the planning of this entire designing resection plane, which we spoke about earlier, and creation of the implant can be done at the point of care lab, right where the surgeon is. They can test it out in plastic, they can try it out, whether it works, it doesn't work. And then they can go ahead, once everything is finalized, they can go ahead with printing it in metal at a certified facility. So Yeah, the next one is just an introduction. It's a cranial helmet. This is something that is used for children who have a deformed skull shape, but this project is really close to my heart, so I am showing it to you all. May or may not be a point of care lab product, but it's something where the patient can come in, you scan the surface of the head, and in terms of correcting the deformation, you create a helmet which will allow that when the child grows, it corrects the skull shape, so eventually it does not affect the brain in any way during the growth and development phase. Simulation and training models, as I mentioned, they can be conducting workshops. You could be conducting training for your trainees or your fellows who are coming to learn with you. And all of these are just examples of some of the training models that we've made in number of batches. As I said, reduces the dependency on cadavers and allows, if say there are 10 people or 40 people in that particular workshop who are learning, they don't need to surround one cadaver like in Munna Bhai, you all would have seen the movie, you all would have seen that 30 people are surrounding one cadaver. No one's actually getting the clear understanding of what they need to see. Here, everyone can have their own model and they can practice on that. So it gives for a better learning experience. So even in terms of the coronavirus, we saw that a lot of doctors wanted to invent certain things on their own at their own point of care labs. So you could take face shields, you could take the ventilator splitters, you could take these adjuster straps. Of course, a lot of this does require certifications and you need to go back end and you need to get those things certified, but it's a great tool for surgeons who want to innovate, for clinicians who want to innovate and come up with their own techniques or their own products per se. So let's see how we set one up. What do you do at a point of care lab? The first and the foremost thing that we need to do is standardize imaging for all the different types of cases that can come along. So this will help avoiding rescanning of the patient, which in turn means less radiation for them and reduced inconvenience for the technicians. The next thing is that you place a clinically seasoned designer. This is of utmost importance, someone who understands the medical language and routine surgical practices. This will ensure that there is accurate segmentation of the anatomy and of the designing tools also which are developed. So this particular designer or a separate operator should be adept with fixing of the files in-house itself to make sure that you can make it 3D printable depending on the different printers that are set up at that lab. And the materials is what this person needs to understand, because as Ketan also mentioned, these materials are of utmost importance when you're doing something in the OT. So this ensures that there are no discrepancies in the model and the final application that you're doing. So it's important to choose the right kind of 3D printing and post-processing tools so that you get the maximum utilization for different applications that the hospital caters to. A lot of printers have their own specific applications, but of course you're not going to put in all the printers at one hospital. So pick and choose based on what the specializations are catered to majorly, and then go ahead for a printer. All of this in one place enables people to make quick decisions and provides faster turnaround times. And this provides us with a happy surgeon. So with all of this, there will still be, those challenges that we were talking about earlier, we can slowly aim to overcome them. And we might see that this might even become a standard of care a few years down the line. You will still come across a lot of reservations though. And let's discuss how we can overcome those reservations. You might hear people say that 3D printing is required for complex cases only. So this was true until now, but with having set up those labs, we really saw surgeons asking for more prints. It's making communication easier with the patient and also between the doctors. Next, you might hear it's expensive. Well, on an average, the cost of the OT alone is somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 rupees a minute somewhere in India. So imagine how much time, if we are able to save the example I gave you of 3 hours to 10 minutes, imagine how much time we were able to save over there, eventually how much cost we were able to save over there. And for the patient, it is a better recovery. The hospital can cater to more and more patients in the same duration. If you ask me, it's honestly a win-win at both ends. Next thing you might hear is that I don't have enough cases. Agreed. But one probably doesn't have a bottle of wine every day either, right? Still, it's handy to have a bottle opener at home. You never know. Similarly, you will never know when you have these emergency cases and when you might need to use it. The next thing is we don't know how to use this. That's actually no worry at all. That's where we place our seasoned designers and engineers and operators to fluently handle their processes for them, or at least we can train them to get the basic anatomical conversions done independently, and then it could come back to us for the more complex cases. The next thing you might hear is we don't know which printers to choose. We are here to guide people through this, understand their core applications, and suggest printers accordingly. For any other application, there are service providers outside. We are here. All of us can always be there and back end to support them. So all of these reservations can be easily overcome if there's a meeting of minds and synergies between multiple stakeholders, such as medical professionals, hospital managements, OEMs, service providers, software developers, etc., etc. Even though the saying goes that too many cooks spoil the broth, I know, sorry, I'm talking about a lot of food today, but please bear with me. So even though we say that too many cooks spoil the broth, I believe that this is a group of specialists. Someone is a master of Italian cuisine, someone of Persian food, etc., etc. And if we want to be a multi-cuisine restaurant, we need all of these cooks to come together and add in their own recipes to give the best variety and experience to its customers. With that, I would like to end my presentation and open to any questions. Thank you so much for listening. And I guess Aditya will have a poll to share at the end of this talk.
Yes, Firoza. I think it's good that we didn't continue the session up to lunchtime, because I think you took talking about a lot of food. I think everyone's slowly getting hungry after.
Yeah, I think I'm building up the appetite for people. So
everybody's being at home, eating home cooked foods. I think you're tempting people to order in. So on that note, I just have a poll for, based on what Firoza spoke. I just want to see how the audience would react to this. So we have a poll here where, how convinced are you to allow use of these advanced diagnostic and surgical tools, and why? So 66% of you feel that yes, it will make the surgical journey less traumatic. I think that's good news for the 3D printing industry and all of you, who've been working really hard to put it on the map. So I think, what do you think, Firoza?
Oh, that is great news. I feel more relieved that people also believe that way after these presentations. Yeah. So that's good to know.
So a good point to see is that only 5% felt that no, it might be unaffordable. So I think that points towards perhaps the costs or the perception of it coming down. So I think that's a good sign as well.